Hello and welcome to Reel to Reel. Just over a year ago, the iconic Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris reopened 5 years after a disastrous fire shuttered its doors. A former professor of art history at Mount Holyoke College and expert on Gothic cathedrals spoke with Steve Kiltonick recently on Notre Dame's history, the fire and its amazing recovery from the ashes.
On April 15, 2019, the Monday of Holy Week, the world watched in disbelief as flames engulfed the roof of Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. As the spire came crashing down, many wondered if the centuries-old Gothic structure would ever be restored to its original medieval glory. Michael Davis, then a professor of art history at Mount Holyoke College, watched the tragedy unfold on television.
When the crossing spire collapsed into the building, crashed through the roof, I really thought the cathedral was, or a large part of it was done for.
Now retired, Davis taught at Mount Holyoke for 40 years, including courses on art history, architecture, the Middle Ages, and Gothic cathedrals. He said for nearly 200 years, Notre Dame has had universal appeal, not only to Catholics, but for those of all faiths.
Just that, iconic twin tower, those great muscular towers of the west facade, something that is globally famous and well known.
Davis first visited Notre Dame in 1972 after getting his undergraduate degree.
It's just a remarkable building. I think there's nothing else quite like it because it's so architecturally rich. Really a kind of beautiful Frankenstein of various parts from the 12th century, the 13th century, the 14th century, and the 19th century. And somehow it all comes together. The genius of the builders has been successive generations of architects have been able to harmonize, but yet push their work forward, maintaining a sense of modernity.
Work on the cathedral began around 1160, with the ceremonial stone laid 3 years later by Pope Alexander VII. The driving force behind Notre Dame was the Bishop of Paris, Maurice du Soleil, who contributed part of his considerable fortune to the construction of the roof.
Paris is seen as a kind of successor to Jerusalem, a kind of sacred holy city in its own right.
Most of the main cathedral was completed in 80 years, with remaining work continuing over 2 centuries. Notre Dame is famous for its stunning architecture, intricate sculptures, and ornate stained glass rose windows created in the 13th century.
One should never lose sight of the innovative quality of Notre Dame, that it was one of the very first and certainly the largest building to incorporate flying buttresses.
The flying buttresses enabled architects to build a structure that was aesthetically large but light.
It's an architecture of whole. It's an architecture of windows. There's not much uninterrupted solid wall surface there.
The original 13th century spire was dismantled in 1800, around the time of the French Revolution. By the 1840s, Notre Dame needed restoration. Architect Eugene Viollet-le-Duc was tasked with the job, and in 1857 decided to rebuild the spire completely.
Viollet-le-Duc designed a kind of super spire, something much larger and much taller than what had been there before, a kind of spire on steroid, and embellished this spire with the figures of the 12 apostles, the 4 evangelists.
At the top of the spire rests a rooster, symbolic of the French people. It contains a small piece of the crown of thorns and relics of Saint Denis, the patron saint of France, and Saint Genevieve, the patron saint of Paris. In 2019, Notre Dame was undergoing exterior renovations when the fire erupted. Temperatures reached 800 degrees centigrade, burning most of the 13th century 200-ton lead and timber roof and severely damaging the cathedral's upper walls.
The flying buttresses, the stones of the supporting arches, were only held together really by the grit of the sand that had been left over from the evaporated mortar.
Fortunately, the stone ceiling contained the burning roof as it collapsed, which prevented extensive damage to the interior, where thousands of wooden chairs, paintings, and other priceless treasures were kept. That Monday evening, the fire reached the left tower, which could have collapsed and threatened the integrity of the entire structure. Davis said the 400 firefighters saved the day from total catastrophe.
It was kind of the line in the sand. They said, we're going to make our stand here at this tower. It's miraculous that it survived as good a state as it did.
By sheer coincidence, 4 days before the fire, the spire's 12 apostles and evangelists were removed for restoration. And although bruised, the rooster and relics survived. A discarded cigarette was thought to be the cause, but Davis believes a malfunctioning electrical circuit is a more plausible explanation. On the night of the fire, French President Emmanuel Macron announced that Notre Dame would be renovated in 5 years. Macron wanted to modernize the cathedral and open an international competition for a new spire. The conservative French National Assembly recommended the cathedral be restored identically to how it appeared before the fire. Over 2,000 people contributed to the renovation, including artisans, carpenters, and stonemasons who utilized traditional and modern methods to restore all the intricate details.
I think it's been a real both magnet and training ground. The roof structure was all handmade. And it's really remarkable to see a skilled carpenter with an axe go to town on a large timber and square it up.
While restoration remains close to the original, new liturgical furniture includes a baptismal font, high altar and cross, and reliquary to house the crown of thorns. Davis, a Friends of Notre Dame de Paris board member, said global fundraising efforts reached close to $900 million. After 5 years and with much fanfare, the grand reopening took place on December 7, 2024. But, Davis says, more work remains. He estimates the further restoration will take until the end of this decade.
Don't put away your checkbook right now.
Davis last visited Notre Dame in May and said it's like seeing a new building now that centuries-old soot and smoke have been removed.
It's just breathtaking. Right now, the work is concentrating on the exterior. So, for example, 10 of the flying buttresses around the choir have to be completely rebuilt and 4 more restored.
An expert on medieval art history, architecture, and Gothic cathedrals, Davis continues to give talks on the cathedral's history and rebuilding efforts. Notre Dame will continue to awe and inspire visitors from around the world now and long after renovations are complete. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonick.
You can read more on Notre Dame. We've posted an article on iobserve.org.